Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Thursday morning to you all. I hope you guys are waking up and feeling great out there this morning, having a fantastic start to your day, and a great week out there so far. Thank you all for tuning in this morning as we try to figure out what's going to happen weather-wise for your neck of the woods. We got a couple features to speak on, one being a lot of moisture beginning to blossom across areas of Texas. This will continue to overspread and move into portions of Arkansas, pretty much over the entire state of Arkansas, the Mississippi Valley, the Deep South, Mid-South, the Southeast, just continue to move northeast and eastward in general throughout the next couple days. We'll speak on totals really specifically on today for your Thursday, but we'll also kind of ooze into tomorrow too, if you will. We did that in last night's video. Big time, we got detail as far as how much rain could we expect over the next several days. So if you want to watch that, definitely tune into last night's video. Not a whole lot of information has changed, but we'll give you some updated information on that in this morning's video. We're dealing with some winter weather across the Northeast. We'll speak on that and another system that's going to enter the Pacific Northwest this afternoon into the overnight hours. And there is a little bit of snow falling across areas of the upper Midwest. We'll speak on that too. So there's a couple smaller things to speak on. The good news is the rain, and we'll get detailed on that for you folks. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. Thank y'all for continuing to tune in regardless of how slow or active it is. You guys, I'm always going to show my appreciation. I mean it each and every time I say it. So thank y'all for just continuing to tune in during the slow times. Really the growth in these slower times is really the core of the channel. So thank y'all very much. If you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. Guys, I pray over these prayer requests, and I promise you other people are doing so too. All you gotta do is read the comments to find that out. So with that being said, let's get rocking and rolling this morning. Made my intro under 2 minutes for once, so you know that's a good start. So let's talk about what's going on out there. You see the white areas right here over Texas, Oklahoma. That indicates more moisture in the atmosphere. So this is finally beginning to fall in the form of rain across areas of Texas, and you know it's moving across right now, beginning to blossom, beginning to become more widespread, and will continue to do so into the morning hours, into this afternoon, and eventually overspread into Arkansas. Eventually getting into my arrows, not really wanting to go. Here we go. Arkansas, western Tennessee, eventually into northern Mississippi, even a far northwest corner of Louisiana. A little bit of snow could fall tomorrow morning in the higher elevations of West Virginia as this moisture makes it all the way to the spine of the Alps. So we'll see what happens with that. You see the moisture over the Northeast. Some of this is falling in the form of some freezing rain, some sleet, some snow as a system is moving into it's already over portions of the Northeast. And then you see this big area of white right here. That is another system about to enter the West Coast, the Oregon and Washington coastline areas of Northern California. And we'll speak on this too in this video. Everybody else, pretty quiet for the most part. There is a little energy that's going to get some snow going across areas of northern Minnesota today. This might make it all the way into the UP. Might fire off a little bit of some lake effect snow action off Lake Superior. We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, outside of that, we got this trough moving across this region, a little bit of troughing setting up over out west. And then we have a surface frontal boundary that is really moving very slow across this region. And that area right there is around where our front is, and all the moisture, basically all the energy is flying across this boundary. Not one of those Arctic fronts or anything like that that separates a whole lot of cold air against warm air. Just in general, just a normal kind of frontal boundary. And we can actually see this, in fact, it's a little bit further south in the line I drew here. But I got all the boundaries and the high pressures up. A lot of people have said, Mitch, put this up more on the radar, but sometimes it's overkill with the H's. It really is. They show each individual high pressure out there, and it's just, you know, your eyes go everywhere on this. That's why I don't always pull it up. But in this case, I want to show it because it does show that boundary very well right here. And it makes sense because all the energy is kind of starting down here and going across this boundary. Now, just because you have a boundary, that doesn't mean that you have like a low pressure energy. Okay? I mean, you got to have the initiation of rising air, of energy in general. Sneeze coming? Nah, we're good. Okay. But, you know, you got energy in the Northeast. You got more energy beginning to bubble up. And that's why, you know, this is a slow moving front. In fact, it's really not even going to make it so much into the southeast. It'll eventually kind of drape across the northeast and then funnel in a cold air damming kind of event this weekend for the Carolinas and areas of the southeast, which I'll mention in some later videos. It's going to be a chilly weekend across areas of the southeast. It really is. Temperatures are going to dramatically drop for a lot of folks. A very soggy weekend setting up. This includes my neck of the woods here in South Carolina. But anyways, don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here. But you got moisture along the boundary right here. You see the L's indicating a low pressure. And then up here, you have a low pressure moving into areas of the northeast. And there's enough cold air around for this to fall in the form of some winter weather with some troughing still kind of draped over areas of eastern Canada, areas of the northeast. So that's what's going on. Another system about to enter. You can see the front about to move in off the west coast here. But outside of that, that is what's going on. A little piece of energy up here. You can see some moisture beginning to enter the picture because of that moisture here. And we do have some rain falling in areas of southern Ohio, moving into areas of West Virginia, western PA. The Storm Prediction Center today, some of this moisture could fall in the form of some storms. Even in New Mexico. We'll actually show New Mexico a little bit of love in this video. I know normally I don't talk about Arizona and New Mexico a whole lot just because the weather is quiet for the most part. But I will, show New Mexico some love in this video, so stay tuned for that. But some thunderstorms are possible with some of this moisture today. This boundary set up, anything south of this boundary, there's some thermodynamics that do support, like I said, some thunderstorms, some warm, moist air. So we'll watch for that for Dallas, Little Rock, San Antonio, Austin, Houston, down to South Texas. As far as excessive rainfall, we are going to see rain today, but we're not going to see much in the form of any kind of flash flooding. Not enough rain is going to fall quick enough for us to see any runoff. So, it's less than the 5%, so nothing shows up on this map. So that's good news. We just need a steady, light to moderate rain out there for a long period of time. They really add up slowly. We don't need heavy rain for a long period or even a short amount of time because it's very dry out there. The soil cannot kind of soak it up quick enough, and you get a lot of runoff. But anyways, as far as watches and warnings, some winter weather advisories are still up for the Northeast. We'll see if these get extended into Maine. Of course, the criteria for winter weather is a much higher up in Maine just because you're further north and see more snow. But some dense fog is around the Gulf Coast line, a little bit inland too. And then you got some high wind warnings up for western areas of Montana up here, and some wind advisories, breezy day in southern sections of California, Las Vegas, some breezy conditions. Also here in central sections of New Mexico, some winter weather advisories up for the southern Rockies here in southern sections, central sections of Colorado. Outside of that, nothing too crazy ongoing out there really. The southeast today will be pretty quiet, but as I move this here in time, we're getting into this afternoon. You'll see some rain beginning to enter the picture over here. We'll speak more on that on the south central area when we break that down. But the rest of the southeast could get some showers into West Virginia. I know West Virginia is not the southeast, but it does show up in this frame here. We'll speak more on that here in a second. But some showers could get going here in eastern areas of Kentucky, West Virginia. So you could get some damp conditions a little bit later this afternoon. And maybe some shower, even some heavier shower activity into Delmarva is very possible. I won't speak too much on that. Let's focus in on this. Some shower activity, again, some pop-up very light showers are possible in South Florida today. You got two things going on out here, though. It's around 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon. You got some showers beginning to make their way off the Gulf of Mexico inland into the bayou here in southeast Louisiana, southern sections of Louisiana. Some showers are beginning to move in. So by the time you're getting into late this afternoon, this evening, could be greeted to some much needed rain around New Orleans, Baton Rouge. Nothing too crazy, but just some light at times, moderate rain. But rain really begins to take over Arkansas, western areas of Tennessee this evening. And then by the time we get into the overnight hours, this continues. And then by the time we're getting into the wee hours of the morning for your Friday morning, and then as the sun's coming up, we're waking up to a lot of shower activity. Nothing too widespread or heavy, but definitely waking up for your Friday morning to a welcome sight. Some light rain falling across areas of Alabama, Mississippi. Not everybody. It's very widely scattered out there, but it is out there. So, still you got rain still falling in areas of Louisiana. Rain is falling across Kentucky. I think anybody could use the rain right now, even if some folks are just abnormally dry, which doesn't mean you're in a drought condition, but you could use the rain. A lot of folks just in the Southeast in general, in the South Central U.S., could use the rain. They really could. So I think we're waking up to kind of a new sight tomorrow morning. Widespread rain across areas of the Southeast, Deep South, Mid-South, Mississippi Valley, waking up to some rain. And we could be greeted to a little bit of snow in these higher elevations. And the good news is as we get deeper into tomorrow, this rain begins to enter the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee, where we really do need the rain. So rainfall totals, guys, not going to be much. We'll kind of focus in on that a little bit more in the next video. We kind of spoke on that in last night's video, but it's not going to add up to much overnight. It's really looking more into this weekend, but you could get 1/10 of an inch, maybe 2/10 of an inch of rain overnight into tomorrow morning for areas of Mississippi, Alabama, and certainly in Louisiana, and definitely points north where more rain could fall. All right, the Northeast. Let's take a look at the radar out of Portland, Maine, and we have snow falling across areas, kind of the border of New Hampshire and Maine down here near the Rochester region. Some snow is falling. You got some snow being reported in the Lewiston region, just north of Brunswick. And we have some reports of some sleet just north of Boston. In fact, in the northern suburbs of Boston, you do have some sleet being reported. And you actually have a snow icon up just northwest of the Milford region in Massachusetts. So even some sleet being reported well south and southeast of Boston, so in southeast Mass. So very interesting morning that you're waking up to. Not surprising at all. I kind of mentioned that you could kind of wake up to, especially north of Boston, maybe a quick wintry mix this morning. Not going to last long, but you're reporting some sleet where it's showing snow. So it's still snowing up here where you don't see it up here in northern Vermont and areas of northern New York State, just because we're out the radar. But this snow will continue to overspread most of Maine and move into Augusta, Bangor, so Waterville. You guys will begin to experience some snow, and this will eventually make its way up here. Not a whole lot of snow, though, today, guys, but we'll take a look at how this unfolds throughout the day. If we can get this in motion here. Let's see. Here we go. We get later in the morning hours. This is around late morning. This is around lunchtime. Wherever it's snowing in kind of northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, could switch to some sleet, some freezing rain. So you might be left with a little bit of a glaze of ice to end this afternoon. Unfortunately, I don't think this is going to be anything groundbreaking, anything to really necessarily worry about. But anytime you have ice, you need to definitely at least watch out. But some snow begins to overspread northern Maine. Light to moderate snow, maybe at times a burst of heavier snow. Some snow could fall in the down east areas of the state. It's very possible. And could become more enhanced as we get into this evening. So if you live in northern Maine, you certainly could get accumulating snow. But as far as accumulations, it ain't going to be much. I do want to mention some heavy showers could make it through the Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philly area, even all the way to Long Island throughout this afternoon, this evening. And then as we're getting into the overnight hours, some energy could fly into the interior sections of the Northeast, some rain showers, maybe some snow showers in these higher elevations. And then here comes our next system entering the picture down here to the south. Maine, northern to western sections of the state, 1 to 2 inches of snow is the general theme here. Not a huge event at all, but you're getting to that time of the year where even if the rest of the country is torching up here, you're certainly pretty much cold enough for some kind of winter weather. It's just getting to that time of the year where you don't get much rain anymore, but you still do at times. I mean, you can get it really in time of the year, but you see more so winter weather over rain. As far as freezing rain, could get a little bit more freezing rain that adds up in Vermont. We'll see what happens. What I'm concerned about is some freezing rain that could start to add up. If you live in southern Vermont, even in the Adirondacks of New York, you guys could certainly see some quick freezing rain accumulations throughout the morning hours. So definitely be aware if you live in these areas, even in western Mass, could get a glaze of ice. South Central U.S., not a ton of rain out there this morning, but this becomes much more widespread throughout the afternoon hours. And we'll stop it here. It's around 2 p.m. And we even could have some thunderstorm action in eastern and east central Texas, southeastern Texas. This is more so just a light rain. This could be a chilly rain getting into the panhandle of Texas. Widespread, moderate to maybe at times heavy rain and southern and southeast areas of Oklahoma. This is beginning to take over most of Arkansas. We're getting into this evening, and just some widespread kind of moderate rain, really just overtaking most of Texas. It doesn't quite get up to Amarillo, maybe a little bit of light rain, but everybody south of that region, Dallas, Fort Worth, down to San Antonio, down to San Angelo, Abilene, Midland could get some rain. I'm just kind of spitting out different areas. Houston, you might not get a whole lot of rain the first half of the day, but as we're getting deeper into the overnight hours, some heavier rain begins to overspread this area. This rain begins to enter northwest Louisiana, where we still need the rain. You need more rain when you get kind of further south in Louisiana, but even northwest and northern Louisiana could still use the rain. And then we're getting into the overnight hours, is just after midnight. Rain beginning to, pretty much take over all of western Tennessee, the Boot Heel, Missouri, western Kentucky getting rain at this point. You're starting to see some scattered showers throughout even southern Mississippi, where we really, really need the rain. And this continues when we take it all the way out to tomorrow morning. And just widely scattered activity, kind of an area right here, some areas right here, just very scattered and smothered all over the place. But another area I want to mention is New Mexico. Enough cold air behind this boundary where some of these higher elevations could see snow in New Mexico. Lower elevations just rain, but you could certainly see some thunderstorm activity overnight. Maybe some rumbles of thunder is possible this evening across southern and southwestern New Mexico. It's very possible. And then this area of moisture begins to move into some of these higher elevations, and you guys could see some precipitation overnight. It's very likely. As far as how much rain you could see between now and Saturday morning, you guys could see maybe a tenth to a quarter of an inch of rain from this, which is an appreciable amount of rain for New Mexico standards for sure. So definitely expect some rain between now and the next 2 days down here in southern New Mexico. But some of these higher elevations out here could certainly see some snow. And if you look at the snowfall between now and the next 2 days, a couple inches of snow is possible in these higher elevations, and especially getting in where the New Mexico border meets Colorado right here, several inches of snow in some of these higher elevations along kind of the southern extent of the Rockies. So rainfall in Texas today, northeast Texas is certainly going to be a hot spot for rain. You guys could see 1 to 2 inches of rain, and I really think this begins to add up more in the later period of the next 24 hours into this evening, into tonight, where I think, around the Corpus Christi area, Point inland could see an inch or so of rain. But even the heart of Texas, a good quarter to a half inch of rain is a great forecast, I would say, for this region. Certainly not a soaking, but a steady light to at times moderate rain will add up in these regions. You look at Arkansas, and this is just between now and Friday morning. More rain will fall in this area. We talked about this in last night's video, but an inch and a quarter, Little Rock, I would say southwest areas of Arkansas and the central Arkansas could get the most rain from this, but this will begin to add up for even southeast Arkansas also. And then, the rain begins to really pick up in areas of western Tennessee, but the rain is still falling tomorrow morning in this area. So this is just between now and tomorrow morning. And as you can tell, some rain is beginning to enter the picture in Mississippi. And if you keep this going all the way, let's take it all the way to just Saturday morning. As you can tell, much needed rain begins to add up down here as maybe another area of moisture begins to ride up through the deep south, where we need a good bit of rain in here to make up for the deficit that we have. So, yeah, guys, much needed rain. We need this. Okay, I think that we all could agree. Not everybody, because I know some people might have a wedding to go to or some kind of outdoor activity. But I think the majority of people can agree that we'll sacrifice a weekend of bad weather to catch up on rain. And that's exactly what we're going to do for a lot of folks in the South. In fact, here in my neck of the woods here in South Carolina, we're expecting probably our worst weather weekend probably that we've seen the last couple months this weekend. It's looking like temperatures won't get out the 50s, rain. Yeah. So up here in the north central U.S., some snow, light snow beginning to enter the picture. Let me know what you're seeing up here. And I think this will just be kind of light to at times moderate snow for most of northern Minnesota. And then as some cold air begins to push over Lake Superior, I think you could get some lake-enhanced moisture popping off the southern half of Lake Superior into the UP of Michigan here. The Keenawall Peninsula could certainly see a little bit of snow, especially especially kind of inland. There's some higher elevations on the Kanawha Peninsula. I think I read somewhere where some of the highest elevations kind of in between the Appalachian Mountains and the Rocky Mountains is on the Kanawha Peninsula. I had no idea. I know that there was some mountains in the UP of Michigan. I knew that. But man, it's just an area of the country that I really like to visit one day. I'd like to live up there. People think I'm crazy, but I would. But we're getting into this afternoon. Some snow could potentially start to fall in Duluth. Not a whole lot. And then we start to get into northern Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan. Some snow showers are possible. Some of these could add up, especially just off the shore. But, we're getting into the overnight hours. Just some people could see rain. Some people could see a rain-snow mix. Some people could just see some kind of burst of moderate to heavy snow throughout the UP overnight. You might wake up to another dusting of snow on the ground, depending on your location. But as far as snowfall, this light to moderate snow that could fall across northern Minnesota between now and tomorrow morning could add up to an inch. Inch or two of snow is very possible across the northern country of Minnesota. We start to look in Michigan. And just between now and Friday morning, not a whole lot for the Kanawha Peninsula, but, you go just south of it where you get just basically in the western sections of the UP, certainly just off the shoreline of Lake Superior. A couple inches of snow is very possible, but you take it all the way through Saturday morning, that's when we start to see even more. Could get as much as several inches of snow. That is possible. I would say if you live, here we go, trying to find some towns and communities in these areas. There's a little town called Grand Rapids, Michigan, but it's the other Grand Rapids. So, Merriweather, you guys could see some snow. Wakefield, snow. Bessemer, definitely a few inches of snow will add up over the next 24 hours for sure. As far as what we're looking at out west, we already talked about New Mexico. Most of the day's quiet. It's just as we are getting into this afternoon, this is when another push of moisture begins to enter the coastline of Washington and Oregon, eventually Washington State. We're going to get a little bit closer look at this. Here it is, another wave of moisture. Could be accompanied by some gusty winds. Moves in just after lunchtime today. And, it's just another storm system. You guys are used to this out here. But as we're getting into later this afternoon, this evening, the rain will pick up. Some higher elevation snow will begin to fall in these typical higher elevation areas. Remember, always stick to your local forecast when it comes to those snow levels. Trust me, I don't pretend like I know everything about everything with the weather. And I definitely don't try to pretend like I know the snow levels for each individual mountain range out west. That's for sure. So higher elevation snow levels look to be a little bit lower than the last few systems that we saw. So, might not have to get as high up to see some of this moisture falling in the form of snow. But by the time we get into late evening, just this more widespread rain just kind of turns into just kind of scattered about rounds of heavier rain that begins to move in. Maybe some rumbles of thunder is possible. And then we're waking up tomorrow morning and just very isolated activity falling across Oregon and Washington. Same thing with Idaho. Most of the period will be slow. Let's see if we can get down to Idaho. And then this always does include western Montana, which is always great. Most of the period's very slow today, but then we get into tomorrow morning and we're waking up to some higher elevation snow, lower elevation valley rain in northern Idaho. And if you keep this going, some higher elevation snow is possible for tomorrow morning for western Montana. Speaking of precipitation, guys, just between now and the next 24 hours, valley regions, just maybe 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of rain. Higher elevations right up against the coastline, more 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch. Higher elevation with the lift up against the higher elevations. Mountain ranges provides lift, more rain, squeezes it out as much as in the atmosphere. Maybe a little bit more precipitation, 1/2 inch to 1 inch of precipitation. Not a whole lot's going to add up, though, in these kind of rain shadow regions of the valleys. But if you were to keep this going all the way through Saturday morning, even more rain begins to add up. And if we look at snowfall for these areas, certainly these higher elevations could get over 1 foot of snow. Mount Hood, Mount St. Helens could see some snow. Your Mount Rainier, your typical areas right here in these higher elevations. Kind of areas will pick up a lot of snow from this. So, temperatures today, not as widespread warmth. And we talked about why, right? Because we have this boundary that's sagged further southeast. So a little bit of a cooler day across a lot of the Mississippi Valley. Some clouds will move into the area. Still above average, really, but not quite as much above average. The Northeast, really cool, but you don't have to go far. You get into Southeast and southern areas of PA, temperatures start to get into the 60s. You get down to Philly, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, temperatures start to get in the 70s. By the time you get into southern VA, 80s, widespread 70s and 80s across the Southeast, Deep South, 70s and 80s. But enjoy it. A lot of areas will be much cooler this weekend. Texas will be kind of a weird state. Rain will move in. For example, you'll be warmer this morning in the Dallas-Fort Worth area than you will be later this evening, where it's probably raining. Chilly conditions in the upper Midwest, but nothing extreme one way or the other as far as your average temperatures. Most of the western U.S. is below average temperature-wise, but nothing too extreme by any means. But certainly some more chillier conditions out here. Guys, that's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and I'll have you another video probably tomorrow morning. God bless all y'all.